Hello and welcome to this ramp Gamesheet app tutorial for hockey, ringette, and lacrosse. We're going to cover how to score a game for one of the sports previously mentioned and how to add games to your account via the ramp Gamesheet app. After signing into the ramp Gamesheet app, you'll be able to access the home page where you'll see all games you've previously added to be able to access, as well as the game code field at the top of the page to enter any new games. Gamesheet codes can be found via your team login if you are a member of a team. This can be provided by a coach or manager, or via the league if you are a timekeeper with no affiliation to a team. These codes are either 9 or 13 digits long and can be entered in the game code field at the top of the page. To enter the game code, simply tap the game code field and type in the game code you've been provided. After entering your code, hit the Add Code button or check mark depending on your phone, and you will be taken to that game to start the entering process. Before you can enter the game, you can choose to work in online mode or offline mode. The first time it opens, you'll be required to mark it as online mode so it can pull down game data for you to use. Once you have done this once, you'll be able to open this game in offline mode and use the data you've saved to your local device if you don't have internet inside of the facility you are going to work in. We'll take a look at offline mode more later on. Entering online mode, the game data will be pulled down to your device, and you'll have full access to the game. The first page you'll be brought to is the game homepage. This has details about the game, options to sign for yourself, or to allow other users to sign if they don't have access to a device by hitting the Sign as Other User button, as well as the ability to do things such as add notes, manipulate the score without entering a goal on the goals page, mark the game as completed, disable roster changes, mark live scores to update a website in real time, mark a game as overtime, mark a game as shootout, add a timeout, adjust the period, quick buttons to access things like goals, penalties, and goalie stats, which we'll take a look at shortly, and the option to update shots on goal, as well as power play chances. Scrolling to the bottom of the page, we also have access to period length in minutes, as well as the ability to grab codes for other parts of this game. The codes listed here are the Gamesheet code, which we entered to access, the home and visiting code, which gives teams access to update the roster and view game history information, as well as the official code, which allows officials to access the game, digitally sign, and even leave game write-ups or notes on this game. Scrolling back to the top, there's an additional notes field that you can use to leave messages that can be seen by teams and officials on this game. This should be used for things such as if there's a game delay, or if there's some piece of information a coach needs to communicate to another coach, such as jersey colors. To start working on the game, as a timekeeper, we can review the rosters on the Rosters page, which is the second tab at the top. Here we can see all rosters for both teams, as well as have options for sort controls and filters. When viewing this, you'll be able to see if teams have selected any players, and if need be, you can make adjustments by tapping to activate players on the page. In addition to this, you can update player numbers by tapping on the player number field, or update additional information by tapping on the player themselves. This additional functionality can be restricted via the league, and you may not see all the controls listed here. Scrolling farther down, you would have access to both teams and staff to be able to make changes and updates. And finally, at the bottom of the page, an option to select starting rosters if your league requires a starting lineup to be selected. Again, you will be able to see if the teams have selected anything in these fields by going to the pages in question. On the starting lineup page, you'll be able to select individuals as well as a starting goalie, or make updates to anything the teams have already entered here. Once we have players and staff selected for both teams, we can move on to the goals page. The goals page is where you'll be able to enter the scoring results for both teams. To do this, simply hit the home or visitor button on the goals page. It'll give you the option to select the period, minute, and second of the goal that is on the score clock. Scrolling down, the option to select a goal type if it was not even strength. You can change it here. And then select who scored. The options that will appear here are based on who has been selected on the roster pages. After selecting your goal scorer and potential assists, you'll be able to hit Add Goal, assuming you entered all fields correctly. If you leave fields blank, such as minute and second, you'll be required to fill those fields in before you can hit the Add Goal button. Once a goal has been added from this goals page, you'll be able to review it by tapping on the goal in question to open it up, or you can delete it by hitting the trash button next to the goal. A deleted goal will still appear in the list in case it needs to be restored, or if there was a mistake made, you can update it and then restore it afterwards. Now that we've covered goals, we'll move on to penalties. Underneath of the penalties tab at the top, you can add penalties the same way for the home and visitor team by tapping the button in question for each team, at which point you can enter again the time and second that is on the clock. Select a player to be penalized, as well as an optional served field, and select a offense. Once you have added an offense, you have the option to add additional offenses if multiple penalties were taken by the same player by hitting the Add Additional Infractions button below it. You will then be able to select an offense for the additional infraction. There's also additional timing options if your league requires information such as player return time and penalty start time. These can be edited after the fact, but once we have filled out all of these fields, we hit the Add Penalty, and this will be saved. In this case, because we added 2 infractions, both of those infractions are now appearing and can be edited by tapping on them, or deleted the same way as goals by deleting them. Again, you can always restore a deleted item by tapping it. After penalties, we have goalie stats, where we can enter at the end of the game the goalie statistics for both goalies. Simply hit the Add Goalie button, select a team, select which player was the goalie, and enter the time on ice, performance stats, win-loss tie, and hit the Add Goalie button. Similarly, goalie stats can be entered at the end of the game and edited as needed. Finally, underneath of the final tab, we have the ability to add officials to the game. Officials can add themselves via the officials code. However, if they are coming to the timekeeper's box to enter themselves, you can add them here by hitting the officials button, add official, and entering their name and position. Any officials that have already been added to the game will appear on this page. Finally, depending on your setup, you have access to add or view game write-ups via the Game Write-ups tab by hitting this option. As a timekeeper, you may see the Add Write-up button, depending on the settings from your league. If you do not see the Add Write-up button, that setting is currently restricted for you. Additionally, here you'd be able to see any write-ups that have been created, again, based on league settings. Some leagues do not share write-ups with anybody except the user who had created them, in which case you would only be able to view your own write-ups on this page, but they will be shared with the league. To add a write-up, hit the Add Write-up button, select the type of write-up, whether it's an instant report or simply a game note, and enter the information below. In the case of it being an instant report, you can also select a penalty to tie to this incident. And that covers the basic functionality of the timekeeper role. It's important to remember when scoring a game and a game is finished to always mark it as completed and sign off on it on the home page. To do this, scroll down and mark the game as completed, at which point it will double check that all game information has been properly synced from this game back to the league. Additionally, from here, like I said, you can sign digitally, confirming that this information is correct, and sign off on the game. With the game now marked as completed, we will now have access to an additional summaries page where we can see all the information of this game in one single page, being able to scroll through all of it in one location. Additionally, from here, you can always go back to the other pages to access the information on them as needed. Please keep in mind that once a game is marked as completed, you may be locked out from making additional changes depending on the league settings. Leagues may leave games open for 15 or 30 minutes after a game is completed, or may lock them immediately following a game being marked as finished. Finally, you can hit the back button to return to your games page and add additional game codes and score games as needed. If you need to re-enter a game, you can simply scroll down to that game and tap on it to open it back up. Accessing a game in offline mode means that any changes being made will not automatically populate directly to the league website in question. While in offline mode, any additions or changes will need to be synced via a sync button that will appear when changes are made. As an example of this, if we go and add a goal, the structure is the exact same as adding it in live mode. Because this information was done in offline mode, this hasn't been pushed to the league, and if I need an internet connection, I can walk out of the arena or to a different facility and hit the sync goals button to have that pushed to the league if there's an internet connection. If there's not an internet connection, it will not sync the information, and you will be able to continue working in the game and sync this information once you do have an internet connection. Additionally, marking the game as completed will attempt to sync any information that has not already been synced. Again, assuming you have an internet connection. If you have any questions or concerns about the Ramp Gamesheet app, please feel free to reach out to support@rampinteractive.com or 866-607-7267. Additionally, your league can provide information on how they want you to use the Gamesheet app and what features they would like you to enter or use. If you need additional support, underneath of the hamburger menu in the top right corner, you can access your profile, the login button, or hit the support tab to reset app data or contact support directly via the app. Thank you for watching this Ramp Gamesheet app tutorial.